My name's Mike Vills. This is my 29 Harley Davidson motorcycle. I'm going to be riding the 2012 motorcycle Cannonball. I'm rider number 13. I wanted to show you a few things that I've done to the motorcycle to make it perform better out on the highway and easier to work on. I think the first thing we might start with is the seat, because we're going to spend a good amount of time on this. It's got memory foam and gel. The guys from Saddlemen, Tom Seymour and those boys over there did this for me, and it works incredible. This is the luggage that I'm taking on the Cannonball this year, the same as I did 2 years ago. It worked really, really well. It's from Saddlemen. My friend Tom Seymour hooked me up with this stuff, and I'll tell you, it performs like you can't believe. In here, I put my rain gear, my extra oil, things like that I'm not going to use all the time. But in this compartment in the back, I had all my tools, and it also has a adjustable kind of a seat rest back thing that works really well. You can raise or lower it to fit your lower back, and I'm telling you, that makes a big difference. The next thing we might look at, I put passenger pegs on this because I plan on riding double with my wife half the time, or maybe more. You know, the next thing I think that's important is electronics. And in this motorcycle, it has a distributor and a battery and a generator. It's not a mag. So the electrical stuff is really important. I went with a solid state regulator, and this generator is off a 1932 Harley Davidson single that I changed the gear on the end to accommodate a twin, because it's a two-cylinder motor. And I went with I'm still stuck with the 6-volt system. Later model plugs, I changed the sleeves and the heads to fit the 14 millimeter plugs. The thing I think is the most important thing to say here is when we're building a bike, this is a purpose-built motorcycle, and that's to compete and win in the Cannonball 2012 race. So the thing is, it's a lot more work to do a prep for a Cannonball race than it is to do a normal restoration. Those bikes just have to run, and then they hang them up on the wall or put them in somebody's living room. But you scrutinize every single part on these motorcycles, every single part, and then you try to do the best you can with it, with the materials that are available today. The next thing I think that we wanted to point out was the rocker assemblies. That I changed the ratio in the rocker assemblies, and I've done Jimmy Lineweber and I built camshafts to increase the duration and the lift in the cam, and also the timing in it. The thing runs like a bus. So that's an important part of the motor. I might have changed the location of the crank pin in relation to the main shaft. The next thing is, I'm just looking at things as we're going. These are a titanium ceramic on the pipes. I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but I test this stuff all the time, and I noticed the oil makes the pipe look real bad. I think the next thing to talk about would be the handlebars, the St. Christopher bell. That's very critical. You wouldn't want to ride that many miles on one of these without one of them. Also, the headlights, stock headlight shells, but I increased the wattage in the high and low beam on both of those lights so that it's like the sunshine in the night. Yeah, right there. For 6-volt, it's miserable. Anyway, we also did the roll chart. That works out real good, and it also doubles as a widescreen TV, you know. I'm just kidding you. But I think a roll chart is really important, and it makes the whole ride a heck of a lot easier to read and to follow directions. The next thing is a fire extinguisher. I wouldn't consider doing it without a fire extinguisher, because what are you going to do on the side of the road when if it were to catch fire? Fire extinguisher is important. The next thing is the brake, the front brake, and the cable. This cable is a friend of mine, Chris Carter from Motion Pro, made this cable special for me. It's longitudinally wound, which doesn't mean much to you unless you grab a handful of that brake. It moved that about 80 thousandths to lock that front brake up there. This longitudinally wound is different than the radial wound, which is around. The cable on the outside is wound long ways. The front brake works good. 65–70% of your brake is the front, so I think it's important to have a good front brake, and it's worth spending the time on that. Another thing to talk about is the carburetor on this motorcycle. It's a Linkert M31F1. Linkert only made about 100 or 2 of those, 1 or 200 a year for the Highway Patrol chase vehicles, and that's what's on here. And boy, I'll tell you, that made a big difference. It has an adjustable main jet and and an adjustable low-speed jet, and it really works good. The other thing is Barnett, Mike Taylor, a friend of mine who runs Barnett, he hooked me up with a carbon fiber clutch on this thing, and man, that thing works great. The chains on this motorcycle are Regina chains, the same thing you use on all the Speedway bikes. 100% of the Speedway bikes today run Regina chains. They're made in Italy. They make great stuff in Italy. Cars, shoes, women, cars, it's amazing. Motorcycles. The other thing I wanted to point out here was this right here. This is the idiot light. I put this on here for my friend Jeff Decker, who's riding with me this year. Whenever this light comes on, that means the engine is ready to go. You know, another thing about this motorcycle that I think is important are the tires. The tires are Hyde now. I'm running 19-inch front and rear 419s. It's what all the adventure guys that ride the BMWs use, and the dirt track racers. These tires are amazing. They're mighty proud of them, but I'll tell you what, it's worth doing. You're not going to have a flat, and you're not going to lose any traction in the turns, and that's where the fun's at. Okay, I think that's it.